to it later. I will probably leave the panel in about 10 minutes. I also have to prepare for the big fight, you know. Logan Paul
Oh,
versus
don't leave Elron. Look,
Mayweather.
one of your boyfriends has turned up.
Oh yes, then I will stay a little bit longer, Jupiter. Isn't that
Yo,
isn't that
Elron, been a while.
Hey,
You
Kingston.
would. Why don't you stay just a little bit longer? Of course you're gonna.
Yeah, I will now. And you know what? Since I was
Your
muted,
girlfriend survived.
Jupiter, since I was muted at my presentation, I will read it to you once again that you only saw on the screen. I quote Churchill: "We do
Right.
not, of course, pretend that the united Europe provides the final and complete solution to all of the problems of international relationships. The creation of an authoritarian, you can also say fascist, authoritarian, all-powerful world order is the ultimate aim which, towards which we must strive for. Unless some effective world super government can be set up and brought quickly into action, the prospects for peace and human progress are dark and doubtful." So there you go. Winston Churchill, a traitor to the great British Empire. He wanted a world government.
Well, under the British.
What's the date? What's the date of that? What is the date? What is the date of that?
1947.
1947.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you want me to say? Why would I care? Is he dead?
I thought you stand for Britain, you know?
Is he dead? What influence does that have on today?
Oh, Churchill still is valued all over the civic national sphere.
Or not is irrelevant.
Why is no one talking about this? I think it's very important.
Okay.
Churchill has influenced
Okay, you want
millions.
somebody to talk about it. Can I just talk about it for 2 seconds?
Yeah,
1947. He wasn't prime minister at that time. Attlee was prime minister. He'd lost the election 2 years before. The thing is that he was really worried about the rising power of the Soviet bloc and the emergence of the Iron Curtain, and also the emergence of communist China. Right, these were new things, and he thought that the world was sleeping on the job. After the war, immediately after the war, America wanted to contract. It wanted to go back into isolationism, and one of the things that Churchill did at that time was to try to actually encourage America to start becoming like a big military power, so that as a counter to the Soviet, what he saw to be the Soviet threat. He was worried.
We joined an Englishman finally. Hey, evening, Jamie.
And what he actually what you're seeing there is him trying to, around that time he made a whole load of speeches, most famously the Iron Curtain speech. I can't remember the name of the place, but where he actually is trying to get Americans to sort of build up their military and to provide backing, and he succeeded in it. He actually produced it. It resulted in the Marshall Plan.
Sorry,
and the Marshall Plan. Sorry, the Marshall Plan.
You know, smart people. Yeah, I understand that from you know, this is what they want to project into you, right? This is what they always do. This is what smart people always do. They make up a problem, right? And then they give you the solution. It's the Hegelian dialectic, okay? So now I could say, well, China is a threat to us, therefore we need a world government. Well, the coronavirus is a global threat, therefore we need to have a world government. Churchill was a Mason. Churchill was in bed with the Rothschilds, right? So there you go. He was a globalist from the beginning, and just because he gives you a reason that say, well, then we should probably have a world government, doesn't mean that this was actually his intention. The very fact that he argues for a world government, which was a conspiracy theory and still is to many, just years ago, no one knows about that quote. No one knows about that quote.
There's a difference with a world government that was
Captain, you're right. It was the Fulton. It was the Fulton speech in Missouri. That's right, Fulton speech. It was a college in Fulton, Missouri. That's right.
You can't judge Churchill in the conditions of 45 or 51 because Churchill wanted the campaign to keep Britain white, for example, but he couldn't foresee the events of 80 or 100 years in the future. He wasn't pressing like Powell.
No, but he was actually worried. He thought that there was a military and political vacuum in the world, which he thought was being filled up by what he saw to be the communist threat. And he wanted to wake up America. So he made a whole load of speeches.
As well, wasn't it? And if you look at the cabinet papers and writings, because it was very careful that period, because the Jews had financed large parts of the war effort, and especially in 42 to 45, a lot of the Jewish money and power was put safely in the United States.
No, this is why you got your Churchill.
I don't know about that.
Churchill has written the foreword for one of Kalergi's books.
But Churchill has gone down saying that Britain needs to stay white.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
probably to gain some voters or something.
The whole race of people,
when was that?
Dogs, yeah? And worse as well. Churchill's racist. We all know that. You know what I mean? Ralph is trying to condone it, saying that, oh, that was a time.
Well,
can you
actually
judge? We fought against slavery and prejudice and
somebody 100 years ago
before that
by today's standards? Can you actually judge? Is it wise to actually judge? So, I mean, can we judge people by the standards of today, or is that a bit foolhardy? They were a product of their time.
Actually, Churchill was pretty progressive for his time. He said that we need to stop seeing Indians as inferiors. When we got independence.
Whilst calling them beastly dogs, yeah. Whilst calling them beastly animals.
Oh,
like
come on!
That
quote. He only said that because he was getting pissed off with Indians not, putting as much enough effort into the war effort, and that's why he went on a.
What do you mean not putting? Wait, hold on a second. Don't chat. Wait, hold on, bro. Yeah, you're saying not putting enough effort in the war effort, bro. Yeah, he wanted the Indians to fight for their independence. Yeah, and the Indians chose not to fight physically for it. They chose to fight democratically, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, for it. You know what I mean? They chose to fight peacefully and passively for it. You know what I mean? Right? So what's the problem with that? You know what I mean? That's what we've been taught to do. That's in our nature. But he wanted us to fight aggressively for it. You know why? He was looking for another fucking war.
All that Churchill cared was winning the war.
Churchill couldn't have imagined Britain or Europe not being 99% white. There was no mass migration. There'd be no Windrush. Of course, Churchill was a white nationalist. No one in Europe would have foresaw that level of migration.
Ralph, you know what would have happened if the Indians fought, yeah? Right? Like how Churchill said he wanted them to fight, right? We would have got massacred, yeah? Right? By the British. Massacred. All right? That's what would have happened. So I'm glad we didn't fight the way he wanted us to fight.
Britain was retreating. All the records show Britain was retreating from all its colonies, not just India.
Yeah, but wait 1 minute. Can I just add something in, right?
The slavery conference.
Can I add something in?
Destroying all their colonies in rapid retreat.
Trilla, Trilla, you said that if the Indians didn't violently rebel, they would have been massacred. The Indians, the Afghans fought 3 fucking wars as underdogs with the British and managed to kind of repel them out.
Yeah, but you have mountains. You have mountains. India.
Not necessarily mountain.
But it's a lot easier for guerrilla tactics to work there.
Can I finish, please?
India was already connected with real life.
Can I just make my point, Saxon? Can I make my point quickly, please, sir? The point is that India had way more manpower, more armament. They had more resources, and they could have just massacred the British there. With a number, just by the mere numbers. But the point is that Indians as a population were so mentally subjugated by the British and made to feel so inferior that they had to resort to kind of Gandhi kind of tactics, right?
No, that's not true. That's not true. No, not at all, because the earliest letters after the Berlin Conference is the French and the British had decided to stop making their slow, long plans to remove themselves. They started grooming the Indian
I know. I'm
civil
talking
service.
in reference to.
This is my grandfather's generation. They started grooming in preparation the Indian civil service to take over management.
Yeah, I agree with that.
For example, my grandfather's parents were in the elites going, "Oh, you guys are going to run this stuff because next 20, 30 years we'll be out of here." So this was an intention by the empire to withdraw.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're not listening. I'm talking in reference to Trilla's claim that they would have been slaughtered. The Indians would have not been slaughtered. They would have had the upper hand, right?
Total bullshit, bro. What wins wars is artillery.
Oh God,
number one.
Can I finish your point?
Tanks.
I know it's
guns.
emotional. Listen, the British were just sitting fucking ducks in India, right? Surrounded by millions of fucking people, right? It could just, one riot and the right amount of fucking weapons from Hitler would have fucking massacred all the fucking garrisons in India. But the people were subjugated through fucking centuries of fucking to feel so inferior. That's why they will wipe the British man's shit. And
okay. Let's just go with your narrative. Let's just say that happened, yeah? Let's say that happened, Afghan, right? What that gives now an excuse for Britain to come back, yeah, and wreak havoc. You understand? So the fact is, this is one point that I, say that Gandhi, yeah, made a good thing with his non-violence thing, yeah, trying to get the media to promote the fact that these British people are, being inferior to the Indian majority, right? I agree with that point.
Gandhi was a fucking duplicitous pussy.
When it comes down to it, that was one point that was very fucking, that worked, yeah? He got the media to promote the fact that these fucking British soldiers and the British people living in the country were oppressing, right? And oppressing the Indian people, which gained a lot of sympathy, all right, with their non-aggressive, non-violent movement, okay? So he had an advantage with that.
But look at the height of the empire.
Gandhi didn't invent that. Jesus did. Turn the other.
Okay. Well, Jesus was in India at the time, was he? Yeah, Gandhi was. Okay. So go on, carry on.
Trilla, hear me out, man. At the height of the empire, 20 to 30,000 at its peak, British controlled 350 to 400 million Indians. Afghan is right; they could have overrun the people. But remember, India had a long relationship under the empire. It already had its 5th and 6th generation Oxford and Cambridge graduates under the empire. The Indians,
that's the point, isn't it?
Taking over their country, it was just going to be an extrication issue. Did it go peacefully, violent? The record is very clear on the long flaunting of that relationship to understand.
That's kind of the irony that the British educated these Indians and then they turned on us.
The point is, it's not really.
It's opposite, right? It's a long game.
Britain. Right. Can I return?
But hang on, just one second. Britain's going to sell its goods, its Jaguars, its Land Rovers, its technology to 500 million Indians in that century. So it should be a good, prosperous relationship. Indian intelligence is a strong relationship with British intelligence, right? Eventually, it's going to be a long regeneration exercise.
Yeah. The point is,
we're only going to take Indians. We're sending back all the others. That was the agreement, Pretty Patel said.
Yeah, the point is, Ralph. Look, right, the British didn't leave any fucking positive legacy. They created a shithole called Pakistan. And India is not that much of a fucking, as how it portrays itself as the democrat. It's still corrupted and it still serves the British and Western enterprises and businesses, right? But the point is that Trilla, look, right, if the Nazis and the Italians had access to India and provided them arms and everything, right, those Indians would have pulverized the British, man. They would have swamped them. They would have sucked them dry. But the people, can I just finish the point? Because look, what I'm going to say is the point is that the people were subjugated mentally to feel inferior, right? And you can see this even to this day when a white man walks in Delhi, literally crowds of people follow him, right? They think, wow, Gora Saab's here. He's Gora, rich Gora, right? You can even YouTube it, right? But the point is, I made a comparison to Afghanistan, is that most of the warfare, whether it was in Kandahar or Ghazni or whatever, was actually on lowland. They only picked out the British while they were retreating from the mountains, right? That was a face-to-face war. It wasn't all guerrilla warfare. If you look at the Battle of Maiwand, they were literally face to face. But the thing that saved us, that we had gunpowder fucking centuries before the British came, and we had kind of a weapon called a Giselle, which is like an Asian kind of musket, right? So I think gunpowder saved us from saved us from kind of becoming the next India, right?
Yeah.
But
That's my point.
Look at India today, right? In Britain, right? It's second richest man now is Indian, head of the Royal Institute Indian. The most powerful forms of government are controlled by Indians. India's the top of Oxford, Cambridge. The Indian-British Empire relationship's a great thing.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No,
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
It was the jewel of the
Don't be a
empire.
fucking idiot. Don't be an idiot. Subjugation is never a great thing.
No. India really benefited from British rule.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. We made the most of it. We made the most of it. That's the difference. There's a fucking difference.
We gave you common law.
What are you fucking talking about? Your rail lines? You know what? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, bro. I'm gonna close you down right now, bro. Yeah, all right. Your fucking rail lines, yeah. Your railway was made to fucking loot the country. What the fuck is wrong with you?
So what?
What do you mean, so what, you fucking retard? You robbed the fucking country with your fucking rail line.
India still
What
uses
did
it
the British ever do for us? What did the
India still
British ever
uses the
do for
rail
us?
lines to this day. It benefits the country even to this day. So
You're a bunch of fucking thugs, murderers, looters, rapists, and a whole bunch of fucking other heinous fucking things, alright? You're a bunch of fucked up people, alright?
It's so terrible.
Back in the day.
Yeah, wait, we're so fucking awful.
Your ancestors, yeah, I'm talking about your ancestors, yeah? Your ancestors are a bunch of rapists, thugs, looters,
You never have a good word to say about it.
God knows whatever else you are,
Why do you
yeah?
live amongst
Shame
us?
on you
We're
for
so
supporting
fucking
them and
terrible.
condoning them. Shame on
If
you.
fucking hate
Shame
us
on
and
you,
everything-
shame on you, man.
You said
Shame on
earlier
you.
that you fucking beat us and that you fucking beat us into submission, right? You know, if it's so fucking terrible here, why do you live amongst us?
Hang on.
I don't have a choice, mate. I was born here, you dumb fuck. I was born here, you stupid fucker.
In England,
So stupid.
Well, you sort of say us, yeah, as if you're talking about India.
Mate, we made the most of our fucking situation, you dumb fuck. All right.
Trilla, I know during COVID that the flights of, some flights, some countries have been cancelled, but I think you can still get a flight out of Britain.
It's not about that, you fucking Iranian, all right? You fake Iranian. It's about, yeah, I was born here. I've lived most of my life here. So therefore, I'm comfortable here, right?
Still move
and I
from
will
here.
try to improve my environment, all right?
You can still move.
I know I can. But the fact is, this is home for me. This is home for me.
No one will miss
This
you.
might be home for you now, but the thing is,
No
it's home
one
for me.
will miss you.
No, I'm sure there are people. Maybe not you. Maybe not you, man. Yeah, because you know what? I'm always going to be here to oppose your
All I'm
fucking
asking
narrative.
is take a half Algerian and half Iraqi and an Egyptian with you when you go.
Yeah. End of the day, dude. End of the day, dude. Yeah, like I said, would you bank cheat? Would you bank cheat? The only reason you don't really like me is because I don't like your bullshit
Everything about this
narrative.
country is wrong, and as you said earlier, you beat us into submission. Well, yeah, that's
didn't
your.
beat
that's
us.
your
We
problem.
gave you independence, and that's why you're salty that you didn't fight for it.
You're just fucking stupid. You know what? You know what? Yeah. You know what? You know what? Let me speak. Let me speak. Yeah.
We have an
Let me
island
speak.
on
Yeah.
the
Let me
other
speak.
side of the world.
When you finish. When you're finished. When you're finished. Yeah. When you're finished.
Yeah. Listen to the blues. Fucking hell.
Go on. Are you done? All right, cool. Afghan's point was, all right, that 300 millions could have taken over 10,000 British soldiers, yeah? No time, yeah? At no time at all. The fact is, I'm trying to highlight the repercussions of that, okay? When it comes down to it, all right, planes, tanks, missiles, artillery, and everything else, yeah, are going to play a crucial part in warfare, which we did not have at the time, all right? So the Indians would have suffered way more casualties, yeah, in that altercation, okay? Let's just take, for example, 1974, I think, the Battle of Longowar, right, where Pakistan and India, right, went into a war, okay? Now, India, yeah, had like 4 or 5 planes, right? And they managed to take out a few fucking regiments, or at least one fucking full regiment, yeah, of tanks, 50, 60 tanks, yeah, they had, right? With a whole fucking infantry, yeah, coming towards the Punjab, right? Now, with a couple of planes, 4 planes, right? They fucking took them out completely. That's the fucking power of, you know what I mean, like having warfare in the air. Britain had much more fucking. Britain had all of that.
Can I respond?
Yeah. Right. So it's end of the day, you're looking at a population. Wait, hold on. You're looking at a population of 300, right, million, right? When it comes down to it, you know, whoever has the most sophisticated artillery, military, right, in the time, which was Britain at the time, yeah, we would have suffered fuck knows how many other casualties. All right, Ned. Hold on. So your granddad is in charge of that. All right, Ned. All right. So
Trilla, you affirm that what J.A. or Kingston said about they gave you India, you didn't fight to win it.
They did fight to win it. What do you mean? They fought many ways. Yeah. They did fight.
You just said there was no way that India could have militarily beaten Britain.
I'm literally condoning, yeah, Gandhi's behavior towards it, right? Trying to gain sympathy from the West, yeah, by being passive in that regard, right, and not fighting for it. But at the same time, I am an advocate of the freedom fighters who did try to, yeah, put up a fight against the British as well. The thing is, like I said, with Gandhi's
you just said they were incapable of fighting a battle because they didn't have the weaponry.
Again, I didn't say that at all. You're putting words in my mouth, right? When it comes down to it, 300 million Indians, yeah, would have taken over 10,000 British soldiers, yeah, that were occupying India at the time. I'm talking about the repercussions, yeah, of that. Britain would have come back or could have come back, right, and taken over after that, right? Decimated India.
Okay, can I respond?
So really, ultimately, then they
with tanks, with planes, with bombs and artillery. Of course they will. Okay.
Can I respond, Trilla? Look, my friend Trilla. You're looking at Britain as if it was like the Falklands kind of scenario. I mean, if you type in, actually, the first people, the British, the RAF first used their aircrafts to bomb was actually in Afghanistan, right? If you type in the Pinks War, right? And we still survived from their aeroplanes, right? So I highly doubt the millions of Indians would have suffered immensely due to fucking kind of small little fighter planes.
They would have had very high casualty numbers.
No,
like I said, wait, hold on. So America supplied, Pakistan, with tanks, and weaponry, right?
Can I finish the point?
Please, finish the point. Feel free.
The Indians and the British wanted a post-colonial relationship 50 years before the end of before 1940.
Exactly, Ralph. Can I say
when
something?
you were planning the next phase, right?
The thing is, the Sikhs, right, and the Indians is not as if they never had like previous access to artillery and weaponry, right? I mean, Rajat Singh's army, exactly. They're talking as if they were like little peasants in the rice pad fields.
No. You're fooling yourself.
Like
what are you talking about? 18th century cannons.
Oh my God.
18th century cannons compared to 1900
Can I finish?
Okay, go for it, please. Yeah, go on, please. Yeah.
You're not listening to me, Trilla.
I'm trying to.
Rajat Singh literally had access to modern weaponry from French fucking armament factories in Paris, right? It's not like the Indians could not access or pay for modern weaponry. Right, you're talking as if the 300 million people will turn like it's as if it's a pseudo Bosnia in the fucking Yugoslav war, right? The British had modern technology, but so did its enemies, right? I.e., the Germans and the Italians. But the problem is the mentality of the Indian people, whether they were from Pakistan or from present-day India, is that they were submissive and passive and slave-minded, right? Right,
no,
so they obeyed.
They have a fucking choice. You have to follow orders, or die.
There was Muslims.
You make it sound so fucking simple, Afghan. Honestly, man.
Not necessarily.
Not all.
Yeah, you do.
Obviously, because the elite Indians never were that. The elite Indians
exactly
were kings and emperors well before the British Moguls arrived.
Wait, hold on. I've got family in the military. Hold on. My dad was in the military, right? My granddad was in the military as well, right? I've got a lineage of that, right? So when it come down to it, my granddad, sorry, yeah, chose not to participate in World War II, right? He chose not to go abroad. He said, and he was jailed for it. He chose to stay in the country and fight for his land and his people in the country. He chose not to go on these foreign adventures, right? And fight for Britain or India, whatever, yeah? All right, abroad. He chose to stay and he was put into jail for it. After 1945, he was released, right? End of the day, my dad was also, in the military.
You're calling for the pacifist thing, Trilla. You're calling for the pacifist.
It's not pacifist, dude. We're not pacifists, bro. We're just nice until you piss us off. That's all it is.
I get your warriors and all that. But my point is, all this is speculation. Nothing in Indian and English history indicates this was the story. Was indicated by the record of the story.
Well, there were loads of people that chose not to fight for the British, bro. Don't chat shit, Ralph. Loads of Sikhs chose not to fight for the British.
Everybody. Just shout. He's not listening to anybody.
Ned, shut the fuck up, you prick, man.
He's not listening to anybody.
Shut the fuck up, you
can't get a word in.
Everything that's saying, yeah? He just fucking said something to you. Yeah, Afghan, you can make a point, but when this
Ralph is
actually trying to put me down, bro, yeah?
Talking all the time. He just won't stop talking. He just won't.
Oh, you can't stop talking about me, you fucking prick. You got a point. You got a point to make. It's a personal attack. That's all you got. That's all you got. You cunt. That's all you got. A personal attack, innit? You want to make a personal attack on Trilla? Hey, alright. You want to make another point? You got a point to make. You got a point to make? Nah, you haven't, have you? You haven't got a fucking point, have you? So why don't you shut the fuck up? I had a point to make. I've got a point to make. I've got a point to make. So why don't you fucking shut up with your personal attack? No wonder you like Rod so much.
It's turning into the beta show. Can you guys relax, please?
I have a point, but I can't make it.
Just relax.
Go make it. Go make it, mate. Go make it. Go make it.
Screaming fucking drunk.
Go make it. Go make it. Come on.
Trilla, calm. Come on. The final point I was making is that look, right, when India, Pakistan, British India partitioned, right, the British basically, I mean, they basically created Pakistan, right? I mean, if you look at the Pakistani army, ISI, Navy, even their civil government society was actually founded by white Englishmen, right? If you Google it now. But the point I want to make is that where was all their energy for the British, right, when they started slaughtering each other? So for you to say, Trilla, that the Indians, right, would have got slaughtered by the British, why did they slaughter themselves in the fucking hundreds of thousands in the name of Islam?
Millions.
Let me finish. May I finish, sir?
Yes, please.
In the name of Sikhism, Islam, and Hinduism, right? Why didn't they base that energy on the British?
Are you referring to the partition in 1947 and the conflict?
Yeah. Because my point is, right, I differ from your original statement where you state specifically, right? It kind of arose my kind of intellectuality, right? In the sense that you stated about 20 minutes ago that if the 300 million Indians rebelled against the British, right, it would have been a massacre and we would have lost and we would have get slaughtered, right? They got all these jets and planes. But the point is, but the point, it was going to happen anyway. So why did they base their attention on their own people, right? So do you understand, like, the subcontinent slave mentality I'm kind of giving you my kind of emphasis on, right?
Not really. It's the power right? of the
why is this
democracy and the institutions that were in place at the time. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, but Trilla, but why is it that Pakistanis and Indian Sikhs and Hindus have such a passive mentality to the white man, but not for their own people? What has triggered this, right? I'm asking you this question. Because when it comes to killing other Hindus, when it comes to Muslims and Hindus and Sikhs and their own little bullshit kind of inner conflicts, they have the energy, they have the Pak-Indo war, they have this, they slaughter each other in Kargil, they slaughter each other in Kashmir, but the white man is like, whoa, no,
you're confusing. You're making the mistake of thinking low-class Indians for the Indian elite. I can assure you, you do not think of that at all.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck
but
me,
the
man. The Indian
energy,
elites were
right?
the most
Ralph,
fucking Protestant people.
Look
I'm
around
talking
the
about
United Kingdom, the United States.
Don't you think it? Don't you think the caste?
Talking
Don't
to
you
the
think the
wrong
caste?
Indians, right?
Don't you think the caste system explains a lot of it?
Yeah, the Indian elites. Look, let's be honest. Look, the Indian relationship intellectually starts in the early 1800s at Oxford with the chair, the golden Sanskrit chair. At that point, the British colonials start educating the Indian elite, by which we mean 0.01%, who are brilliant. And they help the administration of this empire with Indian stuff. At the end of the relationship, we see from the 1910s, 20s, 1940s, independence, the Brits are going like, right, these are the Indian elite. We'll be doing business with them once we've left. That's the narrative that has been
Right, Ralph,
broken.
can I say something?
Can I make a point? Can I make it? Because I haven't said anything. Can I please make a point? There's one thing. Can I please make a point? There's something else that you're not considering. That at the time of the independence, Britain was absolutely bankrupt. It had to get out of loads and loads of countries. There's another factor, which is America was actually keeping Britain afloat economically. It hated Britain's empire. It hated the exploitation of British colonialism, and it actually forced the British, and it started forcing the French as well to get out of their possessions, to get out of the countries that they were subjugating. Right. So there's two things there you've got to remember. We had to get out because we were bankrupt in 1948. Everywhere.
No, you had no you had no fucking soldiers to hold down the land anymore. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't fucking pay
we had
them.
millions. Yeah. We had millions of men under arms. I'm sorry,
Wait,
that's not
after
true.
World War II. After World War II. How many British had died after that?
Look,
It was
no, not millions.
America,
Listen, do you want to know?
You guys would Britain would not have won the war without the fucking without all the Africans and Indians that fought within the war as well.
He won't let me answer the question.
Bro, hear my fucking point in it. That Indians and Africans played a major pivotal role, in World War II. And don't you ever fucking forget.
I can't talk against whiskey.
Yeah, you can't. You're fucking in denial.
Ned, if you look at again history from 1870 when the Berlin Conference starts for decolonization, which ends in 1871, all the major four powers knew that they were going to be pulling back from all parts of the world because of the economic impact of removing slavery.
Sorry, when was that? When was the date? Say that date again.
1940 is different parts of the empires, the French Empire, the German, the British, Spanish Empire is just retreating home is the correct historical narrative.
Sorry,
so that story, of course, India has a different story from Bangladesh. England has a different story, or France has a different story with North Africa. But they're all within that pattern of going.
Well, Ireland was the first colony.
Trilla might say, "Hey, we were pacifists and we didn't kick down," but basically these were the world colonial powers. No one was beating them in any conflicts, really. Maybe the odd skirmish here too. They still had naval dominance, right? Absolutely.
What was that date you quoted when they actually started? The first time they started thinking about withdrawing. When was that?
Well, the Indian story I can speak about with much more knowledge is, of course, the Indian story was the British were very prescient. They knew, the thinkers in Oxford and was knew in foreign policy that, hey, when this country becomes free, it's going to be very powerful and rich. So we should be setting up our leads as we get our way out of here. And eventually we'll be doing business with them. They have the same policy towards China, the same policy towards the areas where they do well. Other areas where there's high conflict, they just ran, right? They divided Palestine and shouldn't get the fuck out of town, right? They just say, hey, we're done here. Same with Africa. They just left, right? A lot of them in a mess, right? But not India.
Yeah, but we should have had more time, but America forced our hand, and India was getting impatient.
Things are good.
More time for what? More time for what?
Broken.
More time for what?
Domestication.
Fact is, dude, you're fucking Britain, right? We're wrong to invade, okay? Britain were wrong to colonize, okay? Along with a lot of other European nations, okay? Hold on, hear me out. Give me a fucking minute, all right, without interrupting me. Give me a few seconds without interrupting me, innit?
Medicine, nutrition.
Just try, innit? Just try, yeah? Let's just try, yeah, you knobhead, yeah? Not to interrupt me for a minute, all right? When it came down to it, okay, you're wrong to fucking invade, you're wrong to colonize, you're wrong to loot, yeah? And then, end of the day, when you guys had taken everything and divided the nation, now you're saying, that you guys left the country because you were bankrupt after looting absolutely everything. It's total bullshit, all right? You guys just left the divided nation, yeah? That's all it was.
We put more resources into India than we took out.
I like what Ned always said.
No, you took out, mate. You took out.
We gave you so much. We gave you so much resources, and this is how you
I agree with Ned always says. Ned said he would prefer that the Nigerians conquered Europe.
You need to read the history, man. You're in denial. You're in denial, yeah?
You know, India, there's actually lots of elderly Indians. There's lots of elderly Indians that look back nostalgically.
One of the greatest famines, happened under Winston Churchill. You do know that, right? In India.
Winston Churchill was not responsible for the
Right, he was responsible because he was the fucking prime minister. You fucking retard. And who was in control of the United Kingdom, yeah? And the British Empire at the time. Winston Churchill.
Indians created the Bengal famine themselves. The Hindus and the Muslims were fighting amongst themselves. They were hoarding grain. There was an awful typhoon in one of the locations. The Japanese seized a lot of the trade routes, and they were like blowing up
between the people. Ships. Are you fucking stupid? Have you never heard the fucking phrase? Yeah? Wait, hold on. Have you never heard the way? One second. Wait. Have you never heard the phrase? Yeah, divide and conquer. Divide.
The Bengal famine would have been a lot worse. He sent supplies from Iran to Bengal to help out with the food shortages. So Churchill saved more lives. So if it worked for him.
Any infighting happening in India was caused by the British, when it came to their whole divide policy. Okay, all right. They divided the people, right? They encouraged,
Hindus and Muslims.
They encouraged the caste system. Listen, mate. The British people aren't fucking stupid, all right? When they go to invade the fucking country, okay, they go and send in people to investigate what the country is like. And to see, what's the best way to conquer it in that regard, right? And they saw the infrastructure, and they saw the fact that there was a caste system and everything else, and there were divided people, generally speaking, right? And they employed that, all right? They employed that fucking utility in terms of like trying to divide the people even more, all right? And then after that division, all right, they came in, right, subjugated them, and fucking basically exploited them. That's exactly what happened.
Why would Britain want to create famines?
The richest country in the world. The reason India is kicking ass across the world. The reason you're speaking English on a computer invented by an Englishman, run by an Indian right now, is because of the British Empire. The British Empire gave India the most ultimate edge, right? What are you talking about? I mean, India is now heading to be the richest country in the world.
And the only reason
because of the empire, bro.
And the only reason it seemed like the only reason that Indians seemed to be under poverty during British rule was because of the the population exploded, and it couldn't like match with the new amount of resources it was making. It's called it's called the Malthusian trap. That's what it's called. So
Okay, so if you didn't take away the wealth, from India at the time, and Africa and everywhere else around the world, right? I'm sure the world, right, would be enough. Wait, one second, bro. Let me finish my point, If you guys didn't fucking exploit countries, right, and take all the wealth from those countries, right, I'm sure that they would be in a far better position than they are in today, all right? And we would have to rely on outsourcing and other countries and using their languages and everything else. All right, I'm sure we'd be in a far different predicament. But the fact is, we have to live with the fact that the British Empire did what they did.
Under the British rule, it became a prosperous place, and they had famines way before Britain came.
It didn't become a prosperous place under British rule, you numpty.
It was. The population tripled in just a few decades. What are you talking about?
God, a prosperous place.
The inferiority complex is just
you're a fucking bro. You're on a joke.
This rape and revenge narrative is very dangerous, and you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Bro, Britain subjugated the nation.
Your family have enjoyed the bounty of the British. Your family have enjoyed the bounty that came from the British, and this is how you repay us.
You're acting like we got a choice apart from having rebellion after rebellion after rebellion, which there were. And you couldn't even deal with the fucking female rebelling against the fucking British Empire. All right? With the freaking... Bro, honestly, bro, you guys are a joke. Honestly, you guys are a fucking joke. All right? You guys are a joke, yeah? You couldn't even deal with a fucking female empress woman in India that fucking tried to fucking fight you guys off, yeah? You couldn't even deal with her. All right, you guys are a joke. Okay, you guys are supposed to be the strongest nation of the world. You guys couldn't even deal with tiny little kingdoms run by an empress
and Bangladesh
Man,
for
you're a joke.
100 or so
You're a fucking
years.
joke,
And you're
alright?
saying
You're the cause of famine. You're the cause of genocide. You're the cause of division. You're the cause of looting. You're the cause of fucking poverty. You're the cause of hunger. You're the cause of all these atrocities that have gone in the world, right? And you want to stand by that, yeah? You want to stand by that.
The famines themselves.
Good
India
luck
had
to you,
famines
sir.
way before
Good
the
luck
British
to you,
came
sir,
along.
okay? Because Winston
And
Churchill was the cause of
Britain actually
millions
dealt with
of
the
deaths.
famines a lot better
And I'm not
than
talking
the
about World War II. I'm just
previous,
talking about
rulers of
famine,
India.
okay? I'm talking about fucking all these fucking
Britain
atrocities
handled the
that he had
famines
caused
much
himself,
better
alright?
than previous Indian rulers. That's a
Winston
fact.
Churchill was a racist, okay? And he
I'm not
caused a lot of
denying that.
famine in India and around the
No,
world,
he didn't
alright?
create the famine.
And
He
he
saved-
was
he saved
not
more lives.
trying to
If it
aid
weren't
those
for
people.
Churchill,
He
it
let
would have been a
those
lot
people
worse.
die
If it
while
weren't
he
for
took
Churchill,
their
it would have been a
resources
lot
from
worse.
them, alright?
If it
So
weren't for
whatever you
Churchill,
want
it
to
would have been
believe
a
is
lot
up to
worse.
you.
Stop
But the fact
getting
is,
all
mate, the
fucking-
truth, the history knows the truth, alright? You're
No,
denying
you believe
pure
in
fact.
pseudo-history.
You're
You
denying
believe in
history right now,
pseudo-history.
alright?
You've been
Fact is,
brainwashed.
mate, I'm not
You've been
freaking Raj who's
brainwashed.
gonna pull out things on
You've
the
been
computer screen,
brainwashed.
alright?
You've
Take
been
my word for
brainwashed
it,
by
alright?
a
Oh, go
few
read it up, alright? Fact is,
historians
you're in denial.
taking a
You're in
few
pure
words
denial
from
right now,
Churchill
alright?
and therefore making
Okay?
a whole narrative.
You're in pure
Churchill
denial.
saved Indian lives. If it weren't for him, the Bengal famine would have been a lot worse. The Bengal famine was because of Indian infighting and the Japanese invading that particular province that prevented grain ships to supply them. And India was also like huge. The population was massive, and Churchill was right. They were breeding like rabbits. They couldn't sustain the population.
Trilla, you gonna let this white man tell you your history, bro? You better fight back.
Bro, I already fought back.
To be fair,
want
right?
Bro,
Look,
they're ignorant, bro. Brad, you can't talk, bro. Brad, you can't talk on deaf ears, bro.
Trilla.
Yeah, these people are deaf. They don't want to listen. They
Trilla.
don't want to know. They got their mind made up, Brad.
They're
You
racist.
can't
That's
tell
all
these
they
people,
are. They're
bro.
just racist. That's it. That's all it is.
Trilla,
There
can I
you
ask you
go.
something?
Thank you, bro.
Trilla, you got to understand one thing with the British Empire is the British Empire did bring some good to India and the frontier provinces in the form of education and logistics as well. But the point I wanted to make to you, the way the British treated like the
I heard they only
Indians,
educated the rich.
no, not the rich. They educated poor people. I know my grandfather was one as a good example, right?
Wait, there was an
Indian
historian that said that in the
And
British Empire.
there's less
the
corruption.
British
There was less
Empire-
corruption under the British rule.
Yeah,
One second. That the British
can I
Empire
just finish?
spent less than America spends on one high school for the entirety
No,
of
the point- The point is, Brad, is the point is to this day, those Christian schools are still open and still functioning in northwest Pakistan, right? So what the British did is they opened dozens of various schools, right, that educated poor villagers in basic English and alphabets, right, literacy, right. He's not saying these people were illiterate because
Have you ever
basically.
seen Monty Python, the Life of Brian, when the skit goes, "What did the Romans ever do for us? Oh, they just gave us education."
Exactly. The point I was going to make is right.
Just
The point I was going to make.
British Empire, and it's the same answer.
The point, Ralph. Let me quickly make this point, right, to Trilla, right, in response to Trilla, is that if you compare the way the British treated the Indians to how they treated the Kenyans, right, is not comparable, right. The Indians were treated much better compared to, like, say, the African colonies, right. So I don't understand why people like have this hatred towards colonial Britain when when many families to this day
even Gandhi praised the British Empire.
Because we were treated a little bit better than another nation, we should be fucking grateful, Afghan. Are you serious?
Can I finish, Trilla? Shall I ask you something, Trilla? Please listen to me, right? I'm gonna make you realize your errors of your ways, right?
Oh, please.
I'm sorry, my son is a bit naughty. He's throwing toys at me, but listen, I'll try and make this quick, right? All of us sitting on this panel when you step outside your door, you are literally benefiting from the past of British colonialism, right, Trilla? So that is one reason why the British Empire were good, is because you're present in this country, right? You have benefited from the British colonialism, right?
So the fact we're speaking on this devices and online.
And Kingston, 1 minute, bro. Kingston, 1 minute. The point I'm making is that, look, right, in regards to schooling, Brad, right, my grandfather came from a poor family up in the mountains, right? And there was Christian missionaries who didn't necessarily convert Muslims to Christianity, but out of the kindness of their heart, they opened these Christian schools, right? And a lot of people to this day who have like successful middle class families in Pakistan, right, are as a result of their grandparents going to these schools and getting educated and becoming engineers and doctors and various other professions. Come on, Ralph, man. Please, Ralph, I'll be 2 seconds. Sorry, Ralph. As a result of that, right, a lot of people are benefiting to this day. If my grandfather never met that white British Christian man, right, we would have been still in that mountain squabbling over fucking land and women and gold like we usually do, right? You know, tribal wars. And thankfully for the British. Yeah, but thankfully for
in India. It goes back to the 1800s.
I know. Let me just.
Ralph, I can't hear you, mate. Just let Afghan finish and then go on.
Yeah, I'll be 2 seconds. The point is that we, you know, instead of like hating the British and having this kind of black African kind of centric hatred, right? Because Africa and India are two different places, and they were treated very differently, right? So there's no point. Anyway, I'm going to another point. I do apologize. But the point is that we should be very thankful as people of the subcontinent, Trilla, that we had the privilege of living in this country and benefiting from the colonial British conquest, right? That's what I want to say.
Point to Trilla specifically, right? Not just Afghanistan, India specifically, Trilla, from the 1820s and 30s, had an entire history of Indian elites groomed under British rule. So the elites of India were educated from Oxford well before all of this stuff happened. So you're losing your connection to the true Indian history. That was a history at the top. That was much before, a century before independence. These stories of would be a Fatima.
Stop complaining, Trilla.
These are just romantic stories. The Indians and British already knew there was going to be a relationship.
No, you're talking shit, because the fact is, dude, when it comes down to the elites, all right. I think that was the biggest fear when it came to independence, right? That it would just get handed from one set of tyrants to another, right? When it comes to the power of the control over India at the time, right? And that's exactly what happened, right? It just went from one corrupt elite people to another. You know, that was the problem. The fact is that elite of people that it was handed to had far less resources, than the ones who had control of it beforehand. And I'm trying to say we will never know. We will never know, what India would have been capable of, and other nations in the African nations and everybody else, that were colonialized by Britain and other European nations, okay? Because, end of the day, you guys took everything fucking from them. All right, and you guys tried to fucking sit here with the audacity, You guys sit here with the fucking audacity to try and tell me, and other people, that you guys gave more than you fucking took, Don't chat shit, bro, man. Go fuck yourselves, man.
1 billion Muslims, I apologize for Trilla being a pussy, like a black guy complaining about slavery. Indians don't complain about this.
Don't get it twisted, mate. All right, there was a lot of slavery going on, all right? In that regard, all right? You just don't fucking see it as slavery, innit? You call it servants, innit?
Zero reparations.
It's a different fucking thing, innit? End of the day, Britain employed a lot of fucking devious tactics, innit, to take over India, all right? India was a united front at one point, all right? And they completely divided it, and they infiltrated all the fucking major powers in the country at the time, and they annihilated it, through those divisive fucking tactics. It was espionage, it was sabotage, all right? That was fucking the whole downfall of India, caused by the British government, all right? Caused by the British Empire, all right?
Look, if Britain took so much resources, why is it when you look at an economic chart, when India gained independence, Britain's increase like skyrocketed? It was like a ball and chain effect. Oh, ain't that deep cut?
No, but again, Trilla, with the deepest respect by you, my friend, my brother, you are not representing Indian pride when you say things like that.
don't give a shit. I'm a human being, man, who's fucking read some
And you know
shit.
the other thing.
Human being with a victim complex.
I don't give a fuck if I'm representing or not in your eyes or anybody
You know the
else's.
other
I
thing,
don't give a
Trilla.
fuck.
You
I
got
don't
a
give a
victim
fuck. I've read something, yeah, I believe in it, and I'm fucking promoting it.
Guys,
I like your fight.
Guys.
Lawrence came on the other day and he was saying, "Oh, where's your Indian pride?" Indian, and he wouldn't even sing the fucking Indian national anthem.
Yeah.
Will you sing the Indian?
You know what it
national
is? You know what pisses me off,
I mean,
Ralph?
you represent India for a billion people. Do you know how to sing the national anthem, Trilla? No.
Ralph.
I don't fucking know. I don't know the English national anthem. Let alone Indian.
You don't know, you know, when you're not gonna.
I don't even know. I don't know the German, English, Italian. No, I don't. I know the. I think I know the American anthem better than everybody else.
He knows the rhythm anthem, the down east or the gangsters. Listen, gangster rhythm. Listen, the point is, Trilla, you got to understand one thing, right? Is a lot of people from the third world that come to Britain, with that kind of snobby, little ungrateful attitude that they present and fucking continue as well with their little offsprings. The point is, if it was for even if you're a black African in America or if you're an Indian man in Britain, you are both kind of benefiting from the slavery in America, from the colonization of no, because if it wasn't for black slavery, there would be no America, Brad, right? That's
not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. The North didn't have slavery, and it was the most prosperous.
The North did have slavery. The North had slavery.
Not really.
Existed.
Their economy was based on.
I'll let them go, Ralph.
Excuse me. Okay, it wasn't up until 1776 the country was established. Slaves were already in the North because that's where the colonies first originated at. The British were in charge.
Slaves died in the North. It was too cold for them.
Okay, you understand New England, the North, is everything from New England down. So what are you talking about? New England to Maryland, that's the North. The Mason-Dixon line. Excuse me.
To death back then. It was too cold.
No, the white people were freezing to death too. What are you talking about? It's a whole new climate.
We're more adapted to the
cold.
Only
the Native Americans.
To the cold.
No, just let DC Brad land. What's the point? Let him finish his point. Let him point. Come on.
So slavery existed in America for the longest time. That's why you had come something with the 3-5 Compromise. The 3-5 Compromise was a way to regulate the population of a growing country that would prevent the divide between the North and the South, because the North was mainly industrialized because of the British that already had control of it. So, like, if it wasn't for the British,
industry created.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Yeah, I don't know why he keeps cutting me off. Yeah, so because the British in the North, the British in the North had something indigenous servants, where they used to treat the Irish like overseers to the blacks being slaves. Slavery being monitored, they didn't have to like bring slave ports up to the North. All they had to do was take it to the South.
Indentured servants. They instead of serving for life as slaves, they served for 7 years. Usually, it was that paid for their fee over. Unless they were criminals, one way of getting over to America was that somebody in America would pay your transit over, but you had to work for them for 7 years, and you were looked upon as an indentured servant.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I interrupted you.
We need to bring that back. Indentured servitude. That was
how America was built off slavery. Slavery was,
but not black slavery. But not black slavery.
Yes, it was free to cheap. The longest serving in regards to free to cheap slavery have been black people.
No, all the black people were in the South because they were not.
There were freedmen towns. There were freedmen towns in 1749. There were freedmen towns in Boston. There were freedmen towns in Rhode Island. There were freedmen towns in Nova Scotia. So, like, no, black people weren't all in the South.
The wealth of America wasn't built by slavery. It was by industry.